Hey everyone, and welcome to another one of our videos. Today we're going to be doing a rear differential service on my 2011 F-150 Raptor. This should apply to all of your Gen 1 Raptors, and it's probably also going to apply to most of your F-150s of the same or similar generation. Now I'm going to be using some Lucas synthetic 75W140 gear oil in the rear differential. And I'm going to do the differential fluid change, or at least try to do the differential fluid change a little bit differently from how Ford recommends doing it. Ford always recommends pulling the entire rear cover off the differential, scooping out all the differential fluid, letting it kind of flow all over the place, which is kind of a messy process. And what I'd like to try to do is extract the fluid using a fluid extractor. So I have a vacuum brake bleeder, fancy words for a pneumatic powered or compressed air powered fluid extractor. And what I'm going to try to do is pull the fluid out through the fill port. Now if I can't do that, I'm going to end up putting a rear diff cover on, an aftermarket diff cover on that has a drain plug in it, because it's insane that these differentials don't have a drain plug of some variety in them. But we'll get to that when we get to that, if we get to that. So I'm gonna put this fluid in. The fluid that's in there right now isn't super old. It's about 50,000 miles old, so it's nothing too crazy. Shouldn't be nasty, or at least shouldn't be too terribly nasty. I'm hoping that there's not a ton of metal particles in there. I don't have any reason to believe there are, so that's why I'm going for the fluid extraction route. So new fluid will be going in. Try to be using the vacuum brake bleeder fluid extractor to pull the old fluid out. And then I have a big old syringe right here to put the new fluid in, kind of the same way as I do transmission fluids and power steering fluids and some of the other stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and head on underneath the truck and show you what we need to do to actually start doing the differential fluid change, at least the way that I'm going to try to do it. Alright, so we're here on the driver's side of the rear differential. If you look, that's the rear of the truck where the spare tire is, and the front of the truck is up that way where the drive shaft connects. Now here on the driver's side we have the fill plug, and what I'm also going to use is the fluid extraction plug. It's just a 3/8 inch drive, so all you need to do is take a 3/8 drive ratchet, stick it in there, done deal, crack it loose. Now I'll show you on the workbench in a little bit how we're going to get this plug sealed up. You can see last time that somebody serviced this differential, the plug wasn't perfectly sealed up, so it's been seeping just a little bit. Nothing crazy, but there's a little bit of seepage there. So we're going to make sure that doesn't happen this time. But I'm going to go ahead and pop that plug out, and then we'll proceed from there. Back on the bench, and I just want to go over the brake bleeder setup, or should I say the fluid extraction setup, before I go ahead and head under the truck and actually start extracting some fluid. So we have the drain plug, fill plug out, cleaned up, ready for some sealant to go on it. We'll go over that in a little bit. But we're ready to pull the fluid out now. I'm using this Capri Tools brake bleeder, which is just a pneumatically driven fluid extractor. I've got the little quick disconnect line that it comes with, or one of them that it comes with, hooked up to it. It's got a fitting for brake bleeder nipple, and then in that I have a polyurethane tube just shoved in there. Forms a nice tight seal, and this is what I'm actually going to stick down into the differential to pull the fluid out. It's just some 1/4 inch polyurethane tubing. So going to go ahead, get into the truck, get my air hose into the truck and everything as well, and we're going to start pumping some fluid out and see what happens. Alright, so we're here under the truck now. I've got a fluid catch pan right here just in case something drifts. Shouldn't need it really though. Got my fluid extractor here, and then I have my line that I'm going to feed down to the diff here. So all we should need to do is get it down inside that differential. Hope that we can find a way to snake it down all the way in there, and then extract the fluid. At this point we have the gear oil all drained out. The extraction method did work successfully. I was able to feed the 1/4 inch tube kind of forwards, and it would curve kind of down into this section of the differential, and then I was able to feed it another way, basically back and into the bottom section of the differential right back there. So I was able to get, at least 90-95% of the fluid out. If you're just going to do like a drain and fill type of deal, this is pretty much equivalent. The only added benefit of pulling the cover off would be to scoop out any residue or anything like that. But as long as the differential's been properly maintained, you shouldn't be getting a bunch of sludge or anything in there. In this case, the diff fluid was changed, I believe I said earlier in the video, about 50,000 miles ago, something like that. So it shouldn't have too much wear and tear on it, especially since this truck doesn't tow. So you can see this is the old gear oil right here, pretty dark. and I got 2.5, 3 quarts out of it. This is a gallon jug. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my syringe ready, as well as my fill plug for whenever I finish filling the differential. And we're gonna go over the remainder of the process, which is gonna be refilling everything. Okay, so this right here is kind of my little differential fill setup. I have my syringe, which I'm gonna use to pull fluid into and then push it into the differential. I have a little bucket that I'm gonna use for some fluid, and this is just to catch any drips or anything like that, just a little pan. So the way I go about filling stuff with a syringe, I take my big giant jug, I pour it into a very, very clean container. This I've wiped out with alcohol and whatnot several times. And I go ahead and fill up the container pretty darn full, because the syringe will clear this thing out in about 2 or 3 syringefuls. So I fill that up. Ready to go ahead and start filling the diff now. I'm gonna take it to the truck and start pulling fluid into the syringe just by sucking it in and then shoving it into the differential. So it's going to be just really simple process. I'm going to show you a little bit of it on camera underneath the truck, and then from there rinse and repeat, and then finalization. All right, so I have my little fill setup going on down here. I have the catch pan as usual, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it on camera, but I have that syringe and bucket of fluid that I was showing you just a minute ago. And right now, again, don't know if you can see it on camera or not, because it's really hard to film down here under the truck and everything with all of my stuff under here. I'm just drawing the gear oil into the syringe. I have that in there now, ready to rock and roll, and then going up to the differential and just shooting gear oil into there. Really nice and simple. So there's one syringe full. I'm sure you can imagine what the rest of this process is going to look like. It's just going to be rinse and repeat until I have fluid dripping out, which will look kind of like what you see right there, but that's just my bad as far as filling and being a little messy goes. You'll know when the fluid's truly running out, because it'll be running out a little bit more than that, but you'll see it dripping out like that, and then that's the point at which we're going to stop and then plug the differential back up. The differential's full, so now we're going to go ahead and put in the fill plug. Got to get it prepped and ready. It's a tapered NPT style thread, just like a lot of the other drain and fill plugs for the transfer case, differentials, such, so on and so forth. I like to put a little bit of thread sealant on there to make sure that we don't have any seepage like you were seeing at the beginning of the video. And in this case, I'm using some Permatex high temp thread sealant. You can probably get away with some just standard pipe thread sealant, but the temperature rating for that generally only goes up to about 125 degrees or so. And that's not really quite enough, or really not above the threshold the differential is going to hit. In other words, the differential is going to get hotter than that. So, pipe thread sealant in a few different spots on the plug. Plug's ready to go back in. So, I'm going to go ahead, hop onto the truck, get that plug cranked in, get everything wiped up, and then we'll finalize the video from there. Differential fill plug is back in. See, I've cleaned up around the area a little bit. You get a little bit of gear oil around there. It is what it is. You can clean it off as best you can, or just leave it. Doesn't really matter. Torquing to spec. The fill plug torque spec on this particular truck is 22 foot-pounds. So I have my torque wrench set to that. I'm going to go ahead and get it hung there. I'm trying to do this all one-handed. Nice and tight. I had already torqued it to spec before shooting it on video, but just wanted to show you the process. At this point, differential fluid change is done. You just need to clean everything up. So definitely, if you're going to do the fluid extraction method or not, you're going to need a pan, either to dump the fluid into if you pull off the back cover, or just to catch any drips and everything. It's a drippy, nasty, messy job, just like anything else with gear oil. But otherwise, fluid extraction works. It pulls all the fluid out. I definitely pulled out about that 3-quart mark that I spec'd for the rear diff, and overall worked out pretty well. It's just a little bit of waiting time, but you can kind of set and forget and have your extractor pull out the fluid and come back and fill it at that point. So pretty easy job. Let me know if you have any questions or comments below. With that, I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.